Behind every legendary figure in Hollywood, there's a side of their life that the public rarely sees, a side that only those closest to them truly understand. Robert Mitchum, one of the most iconic actors to ever grace the silver screen, is no exception. Known for his tough guy persona, his unforgettable performances in films like Out of the Past and The Night of the Hunter, and his reputation as a Hollywood rebel, Mitchum's fame was built on a complex blend of charm and mystery. But while his on-screen roles may have captured the world's attention, the real story of Robert Mitchum's life was much more intimate, shaped by his family. For the first time, his children are sharing the untold stories of life with the legend, revealing what it was really like growing up under the shadow of one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Their memories are a rare and personal look into the private world of Robert Mitchum, a man who, despite his fame, was first and foremost a father with his own struggles, triumphs and moments of vulnerability. What was it really like to be the child of someone so famous? Let's dive into the heart of these stories and discover the man behind the legend. Robert Mitchum's family was as unique as the man himself. Growing up with a father whose face was known worldwide brought its own set of challenges, but also its own set of privileges. His children, like many children of celebrities, experienced a life that was different from most. While the world saw Mitchum as a tough, stoic figure on screen, his children saw him as their father, a man with flaws, strengths, and all the complexities that come with being a parent. Mitchum's children often reflect on their early years, recalling moments of both joy and difficulty. There were times when Robert's fame kept him away from home for extended periods, working on film sets or attending events, but when he was home, he made his presence felt. His children often remember how he would try to balance his hectic career with spending time with them, despite the pressure of being in the public eye. They saw a man who wasn't always perfect but always present when it counted the most. Being the child of such a well-known actor didn't come without its difficulties. The public's fascination with Robert Mitchum meant that his children were constantly in the spotlight, even if they didn't want to be. They had to learn early on how to navigate the attention that came with their father's fame. Whether it was a trip to the store or attending a family event, the Mitchum family was often followed by photographers or surrounded by curious fans. For many years, Robert's children were forced to grow up with a level of scrutiny that most children could never imagine. Despite these challenges, Mitchum's family also enjoyed the benefits of being connected to Hollywood's elite. They had access to exclusive events, traveled the world and lived in luxurious homes. But with all the perks came a sense of isolation. Mitchum's children sometimes found themselves separated from the normal world, unsure of what was real and what was shaped by their father's fame. Through it all, Robert Mitchum's family learned to balance the fame and fortune with the complexities of family life. And although they didn't always have the perfect picture of a father, they knew that Robert Mitchum, despite everything, was their father, and the bond they shared with him went far beyond the red carpet or the spotlight. Living with a Hollywood legend like Robert Mitchum meant that his children experienced a world most could only dream of. But fame, while glamorous on the outside, brought its own set of challenges behind closed doors. Mitchum was known for his tough guy image, both on screen and off, but the man his children knew at home was far from the rough-around-the-edges characters he portrayed in films. At home, Robert Mitchum wasn't just the legendary actor. He was a father who, like any parent, had his own way of doing things. He was known for being a man of few words, often keeping his thoughts to himself. His children remember him as someone who wasn't overly affectionate or overly involved in every detail of their lives, but they also remember him as someone who showed love in his own quiet ways. Mitchum's way of showing affection wasn't through constant attention or words, but through his actions. When he was around, he was there for his children, even if it wasn't in the traditional sense. One of the things his children recall fondly was how he would share stories from his career and life experiences. His storytelling was a big part of their relationship with him. They would sit around, listening to him talk about his time in Hollywood, his travels and the people he met along the way. These moments weren't grand speeches or emotional declarations, but simple stories that helped them see their father as a human being, not just a star. It was in these moments that they felt the connection to him that fame often obscured. Despite Robert's sometimes distant nature, there was a level of respect and understanding between him and his children. They knew that his career came with sacrifices, and they learned to navigate the space between the public Mitchum and the private one. He wasn't perfect, but he was theirs, and they recognized the unique experience they had growing up in such an extraordinary environment. There were, of course, moments when his children longed for more. The father, who was rarely home due to filming or other obligations, sometimes left them feeling isolated. They also had to contend with the pressure of being Mitchum's children. People had expectations, assumptions, and judgments about them simply because of who their father was. It was something they had to live with and accept, whether they liked it or not. Yet, even through the struggles, Mitchum's children came to understand and appreciate their father's role in their lives. They learned that he, like anyone else, was balancing his personal and professional worlds, and while it wasn't always easy, it was a journey they shared together. In the end, they learned that fame didn't make a person perfect, but it did make life a little more complicated. Living with a Hollywood legend like Robert Mitchum also meant that his family had to deal with the unique pressures of constantly being in the public eye. Robert Mitchum wasn't just famous for his films. His persona, his bad boy image, was larger than life, and that often spilled over into the lives of his children. For them, there was no escaping the spotlight, whether they liked it or not. They were often overshadowed by their father's larger-than-life reputation, and growing up in his shadow meant that everything they did was scrutinized. As children, they didn't have the luxury of anonymity. Whether it was a trip to the grocery store or a family outing, they often found themselves surrounded by fans or paparazzi who were more interested in their famous father than in them as individuals. The public's fascination with Robert Mitchum was intense, and it affected the entire family. His children couldn't just have a normal childhood. Every moment seemed to be observed through the lens of his fame. They learned to deal with the attention in their own ways, trying to protect their privacy, while still being part of a world that demanded openness. For Robert Mitchum, the pressure of his fame was something he navigated every day. His children saw him deal with it in ways that they couldn't fully understand at the time. There were moments when he seemed completely indifferent to the public's attention, and other times when it clearly weighed on him. Despite this, Mitchum's children didn't always view their father's fame in a negative light. Yes, it brought challenges, but it also gave them opportunities that most people could only dream of. They had access to exclusive events, met celebrities, and experienced a lifestyle of luxury. But even with all the perks of being Robert Mitchum's children, they still yearned for something more, a sense of normalcy. They wanted to be seen for who they were, not just as extensions of their father's fame. This was something that Robert Mitchum himself had struggled with, and his children often felt the weight of it. They knew their father wasn't just a star. He was a person with flaws and qualities that went beyond his on-screen roles. But in the public eye, he was always Robert Mitchum, the tough guy, the rebel, and the heartthrob. For his children, the challenge was trying to separate the man from the myth. Through it all, Robert Mitchum's children had to learn how to live with the legacy of his fame. They learned that fame wasn't just about the good things, like the wealth and opportunities. It also meant dealing with the constant attention, the constant pressure, and the constant comparisons to someone they could never fully escape. But as they grew older, they came to realize that their father's fame wasn't just something they had to live with. It was a part of their history, and it shaped their lives in ways they would carry with them forever. As Robert Mitchum's children reflect on his legacy, they realize that his impact went far beyond his cinematic accomplishments. While his films cemented his place in Hollywood history, it was the way he lived his life, the lessons he passed on to them, that truly defined his legacy. For Mitchum's children, the influence of their father wasn't just about being the child of a famous actor, it was about learning from the man behind the image. Robert Mitchum's children often recall how, despite his fame and success, their father never let it go to his head. He lived a life of quiet confidence, never feeling the need to flaunt his accomplishments. To them, he wasn't just a movie star, he was a man who had endured hardships, who had made sacrifices, and who had always managed to keep his feet firmly planted on the ground. Mitchum never gave off the impression that he was above anyone else, and this sense of humility is something his children carry with them to this day. The lessons Mitchum imparted to his children were often simple but powerful. He taught them the importance of independence and resilience, showing them that success didn't come without hard work and perseverance. Mitchum's own journey in Hollywood wasn't easy, and his children learned that nothing worth having came easily. He didn't sugarcoat the difficulties of life. Instead, he encouraged them to face challenges head-on, and to take responsibility for their actions. But perhaps the most lasting impact Mitchum had on his children was the way he lived outside of the spotlight. While the world saw him as a tough, rebellious figure at home, he was a man who valued family and loyalty above all else. His children saw how deeply he cared for those close to him, even if he didn't always show it in traditional ways. They learned from him the importance of protecting those they loved, of standing by their family, and of never compromising their integrity, no matter the cost. As they look back on their father's legacy, Robert Mitchum's children understand that his influence was far more significant than just his roles in film. It was his character, his strength, and his ability to navigate the complexities of fame and family that shaped their lives. They feel a deep sense of pride in his legacy, not because of his status in Hollywood, but because of the man he was behind the scenes. And as they continue to live their own lives, they carry with them the lessons he taught them, knowing that his legacy will live on not only in the films he made, but in the way he shaped their world. As Robert Mitchum's children reflect on the life they shared with their father, it becomes clear that the legacy he left behind is much more than a collection of films and accolades. Mitchum, despite his fame, was a man who valued privacy and lived life on his own terms.
Why?
He wasn't one to seek the spotlight for personal gain or constantly seek approval from others. His children remember him as a man who was unapologetically himself, and they admire that most about him. Growing up with Robert Mitchum meant that they learned the importance of living authentically, without concern for public opinion. For Mitchum's children, the experience of growing up with such a legendary father wasn't without its challenges. They faced the duality of loving and respecting a man who was a private, complex figure, while also dealing with the weight of his fame. But as they grew older, they came to appreciate the lessons he taught them, lessons that they wouldn't have learned from any other father. One of the most profound lessons Robert Mitchum imparted to his children was the importance of resilience. Mitchum was a man who faced countless personal and professional setbacks in his life, but he never allowed those setbacks to define him. His children saw firsthand how he weathered controversies, navigated Hollywood's ups and downs, and remained steady through it all. They learned that life wasn't always about winning or achieving perfection, but about standing strong through adversity. While Robert Mitchum's public persona often centered around his bad boy image, his children came to realize that there was much more to him than the rebellious actor the world saw. At home, Mitchum was a man who valued honesty, loyalty, and the strength of family bonds. His children learned that while fame and fortune could come and go, the people you love and trust are what truly matter. As they look back, Robert Mitchum's children recognize how his legacy has shaped not only their personal lives, but also their outlook on the world. They don't just see a man who left a mark on Hollywood, they see a father who taught them about resilience, authenticity, and the importance of staying true to oneself, no matter the circumstances. His legacy lives on in their memories, and in the way they continue to live their lives, honoring the lessons he passed on to them. In the end, Robert Mitchum's children understand that his legacy was never just about the fame, the films, or the characters he portrayed. It was about the man he was, the father who showed them that strength comes in many forms, and that the most important thing in life is to always be true to who you are.